Hello, Fightful Faithful, and welcome to the final Sour Graps of the decade. Here we are. We did that thing. We watched all together as the Lana Lashley wedding took place. You know, when I look back at this episode of Raw, I'm going to remember how friggin' great the first half hour was, and then how quickly it descended into abject horror. I mean, we breezed past boring stuff and the same old, and finally we wound up at like, if you're the kind of person who digs it's so bad it's good, I don't think even you could have liked that last segment, because it went again past so bad it's good into okay, it's bad again. Oh God, this is horrific. Oh no. Oh no, was my honest reaction to stuff that happened. But there's a lot of Raw to get through before we wind up at the wedding of the decade, of the century, as Jerry Lawler would say. We'll talk about this right off the bat. I'm really glad Samoa Joe is back in wrestling, especially as a righteous, badass babyface. That's going to be a lot of fun. But a two-man commentary booth with just young Vic Joseph and his crazy, demented grandpa yelling about weddings and talking about how Seth Rollins is the Messiah. That's gonna wear on my nerves pretty quick. Oh boy. Oh boy. Let's get right to it. It's so crazy to think that the two biggest baby faces on Raw are Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe, but that's exactly what's happened, and it's awesome. What a great pairing. They're perfect for each other. Samoa Joe is all just like rage, just righteous rage, and Kevin Owens is he doesn't have any time for any of your shit, and I think it really works very well together. I loved this whole opening thing. Kevin Owens coming out right down to the ring saying that I'm going to come down here and keep calling them out, even if they keep coming down and beating me up, because one of these days I'm going to take one of you dudes with me. And I thought that was awesome. That's great. Like, it's such a wonderful, because so many baby faces are I fight against the odds. I just want to come out on top. And even WWE baby faces are, just smarmy dicks. Like these guys, Joe and KO, or as I'm going to call them from now on, KO Joe. That's their thing. I'm not going to call them. I'm christening that. That's mine. If you see anybody else using it, I started it. KO Joe. So KO's out there and he's like, it's fine you beat me up or whatever, but you beat up Rey Mysterio. and it was uncalled for. He's a legend. I man I respect very much, and I have no doubt that what you did to him on Monday led to him losing the U.S. title to Andrade a few days later. They showed video of that. It's cool. By the way, yes, Andrade is the U.S. champ now. They did the title change the MSG house show after Christmas. And once in a while, they'll do one of those title changes at the house shows, people, because you gotta show up for the house show because anything can happen in the WWE. That's what they want you to think. So occasionally they'll do one of these. I'm happy that Andrade has a title finally on the main roster. He's super talented and really great. But, he's a heel champ, so he's going to win by, distractions, solely via distractions, because that's what happens with champs, heel champs. They only win via distraction. It's fun. But I'm glad that he's the champion. He deserves to be a champion. He's going to have a lot of great matches along the way. I was just looking at my hand, realized that I got a purple nail. My 2-year-old daughter wanted to do daddy's nails today. So I said, okay. And then my wife told me, oh, by the way, I'm out of nail polish remover. So I got one purple nail. The joys of fatherhood. Anywho, this was really great. Of course, Seth Rollins and AOP do come down to the ring. And they beat up Kevin Owens, but Kevin Owens is there. He's fighting back. I like that a lot. But the damned numbers game until there's that great the bomb. I love Samoa Joe's theme music. Always have. And it's great to hear it and to be like, oh, you're gonna get your ass kicked now. And have it be a good thing. Like, we're really happy for him to be down there doing that. So he goes down there and AOP gets out of the ring. One of them meets a big boot from Samoa Joe, which is tough because he's not the tallest dude. He's definitely not as tall as the two, A's OP. And so he's able to get his foot up there. That's really good. Throws one of them barricade, and then there's a great stare off with him and Seth Rollins. Ooh, it's good stuff. We had a very prolonged feud between him and Seth Rollins when Seth was babyface and Samoa Joe was dastardly heel. So it's cool to see them on the other opposite sides. But AOP gets back in the ring, and so it's 3-on-1, and then KO's got the equalizer. He's got a chair, and there's a giant, big, awesome brawl that involves Kevin Owens doing a security comes out. All those guys who usually protect Baron Corbin, they turned in all their uniforms, and some new guys could wear them so they could be down there to stop everybody from doing things to each other, because we don't like that on a wrestling show. And KO does a cannonball off the top rope onto a whole bunch of guys. Then KO gets back, and then Joe gets back into it, beating each other up. It's good. And then cuts commercial, like right in the middle of the big brawl, which I didn't like too much. But so Samoa Joe and KO are KO Joe are backstage in the locker room sharing tips about what to do about these bad dudes. And there's a really pretty good little promo they give to Carly Caruso, where Samoa Joe says, I didn't want to get involved. Seth Rollins involved me. And now this guy, Kevin Owens, he's always going to have backup. He's never going to be alone again in this fight. And I liked what Kevin Owens was like, Samoa Joe, I've known this guy for a long time. He's one of the baddest men I've ever known, and I'm so glad he's on my side. And then the security shows up because they're going to escort them out of the building. and he says, I love Samoa Joe's like, hey fellas, here's one rule: touch me, it's your ass. And he walks out, and then Kevin Owens just does to one of the guys, Happy New Year, as he walks out. Oh, I love this team. I love Samoa Joe and KO. I love KO Joe. They're great. Put the tag straps on them. Push them to the moon. Love them. God, those are going to be some great matches. Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe versus AOP is going to bring the friggin' house down. I can't wait. I can't wait for those matches. Those are going to be so good. See how happy I am right now? I am so happy to think about the future of WWE. I want it to be this good across the board. But it's not. What is good, though, Aleister Black and Buddy Murphy coming right off the heels of that great promo, great brawl, another great big backstage interview, funny line from KO. Happy New Year. That's awesome. And now straight into Buddy Murphy versus Aleister Black. Dose. It's awesome. Great match. Really good match. Loved it. Thought it was so cool how Aleister Black had an answer for everything Buddy Murphy threw at him, because Buddy Murphy had him scouted, but Aleister Black knew he would have him scouted, so he did other things instead of his regular stuff. So good. Buddy Murphy absolutely can hang with Aleister Black. I think that's really interesting that, like, he knows he can beat him, but he hasn't yet. He had him, but Black countered the Murphy's Law into a roll-up, and then hit him with one black mass, and then lifted him back up, hit him with two black masses, pin, 1, 2, 3. Nobody gets up from two black masses, because nobody's ever gotten up from one black masses. So, this is a great match. And, to be honest, Aleister Black needs to win this feud. But I did think that Buddy Murphy would pick up a victory within the feud. I thought that Buddy Murphy would win the second match, via chicanery, or, the ref's not looking and he's got brass knuckles or something weird, but he's got to pick up a victory in there, and then Aleister Black would win the rubber match. That's what I kind of thought was going to happen. But, yeah, Buddy Murphy losing 2 in a row to start the feud is not an auspicious beginning. Sean Ross Sapp tweeted out that there's an idea that Buddy Murphy becomes obsessed with beating Aleister Black because he knows he can, and he won't stop until he gets that victory. Cool. I also would approve of that being the storyline they're going to tell, but I don't think they're gonna. I think they're going to have Buddy Murphy lose again until, as awesome as he is, and by the way, the crowd doesn't have a reason to get behind these guys. These are two fairly new faces. So, Aleister Black wrestled 7 times or something as a singles matches since his tag team with the Ricochet broke up. And this is 9, 10 times, I think, maybe 10 matches in 2019. Buddy Murphy's still just a dude who had that really great match with Roman Reigns, and then another one the next week with Daniel Bryan, and then another one the next week as part of the King of the Ring tournament with Mustafa Ali. And he went 1 and 2 in those 3 matches, even though they were all 3 really tightly contested. And then he was just not used again for months. So now he's being used again, and good. He's picking up victories against jobbers and, lower tier, lower mid-card guys, but now he's in a feud. He's punching above his weight class with Aleister Black. And I like seeing these matches, but Buddy Murphy's going to have to win one of these. If not, then he can't be in this feud anymore. He's got to win matches and be considered something special, because he is. So I don't know who you put him in a feud with now. Maybe they could put this off for later, return to this after a while, but I can't see him lose 3, 4, 5 in a row to Aleister Black. And everybody's like, well, if he won, you just say it was 50-50 booking. No. Now, 50-50 booking is its own kind of evil, but in this case, where these two guys are so obviously evenly matched, I would have put Buddy Murphy over clean tonight. Give Aleister Black his first loss against Buddy Murphy. Make it mean something for Buddy Murphy to get that actual win. Like, have him beat him. Have him duck the Black Mass and hit that flash knee. Hit the Murphy's Law, 1, 2, 3. And Aleister Black then be so upset. And then Buddy Murphy be like, no, I'm good. I don't need to face you again. I proved I could beat you. And Aleister Black, haunted by losing to Buddy Murphy, comes back at him and back at him and back at him until Buddy Murphy agrees to wrestle him. And then Aleister Black can hit him with 2 Black Masses in a row and win it. There's the end of your feud. And I wrote that for you. You could have used that. But instead, you decided to have Buddy Murphy lose twice in a row. And now I don't know where you go from here. But the match itself, fan-fucking-tastic. Great. Loved it. These two guys are so good. They have such great chemistry. I could watch them wrestle forever. Oh, yeah, so management has told Seth at AOP that they have to leave too. Yeah, by the way, Seth, in the beginning, he comes out and talks to KO and says, I'm the Messiah. Like, he says, I'm the Messiah. And so later during the beatdown, during the brawl, KO is hitting Seth Rollins and Jerry Lawler. Like, he's always like frantic the way he squeals things, like blah, 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 blah. But he did not seem to have, like, there was no hint of irony. Like, he appears to believe the thing he says, like, don't hit him, he's the Messiah. Like, I know he's CrossFit Jesus, but he ain't Jesus. Anyway, I'm all for the heel commentator being on the side of the heels, but like, he calls himself the Messiah. You can be like, well, I think that's a step too far, Seth. Rein it back in a little bit, and then I'm with you. I mean, I think that actually, I don't know. With everybody except Corbin, that's what Corey Graves does. Corey Graves calls him like he sees him, unless it's King Corbin. Then he's blind to anything that is bad about Mr. Corbin. Anyway, so security makes AOP and Seth leave, and Seth rather presciently he says prescient. He's very prescient when he says if we leave, the show's gonna be ruined. If I'm not here, the show's gonna go down the tubes. And boy, howdy, was he right. Yeah. Eric Rogan. Joe Rogan's brother, Eric Rowan, accosts Lana backstage like, I didn't get my invitation. You not like me? I don't even care. We don't care, he says, pointing to the absolutely nothing inside his little cage with the shroud over it, because, spoiler alert, they don't even know what the hell's in that cage. They're kicking around some ideas backstage. Some writer's room, they're going to be like, okay, well, I guess we'll go with the sheep mask. That's the best thing we got. But I don't even think they're going to do that. I don't think they've even thought of that yet. I think they're like, it's all going to be a figment of his imagination. Or, it's a hamster. Honestly, I would pop if it was a hamster. If finally we looked inside and it was a goddamn gerbil, like a little really cute little mousy creature that Eric Rowan keeps in there, and that we're all been so scared of, that would be good. They would take the piss out of the whole thing, and I think it would be great. They're not going to do that either. So, anyway, he had a match with some small guy. And the small guy tried to get close to the cage. And guess what happens when you try to get close to the cage? Eric Rowan doesn't like that very much, and so he beats you up. That is what happens every week on Raw. It's a thing we did, and we put it on the TV. This is the dumbest friggin' storyline. What the hell, man? Like, what are you proving? Like, you have a whole roster full of people you pay to be on your roster. Get one of them to lose to Eric Rowan. What's Apollo Crews doing? What's friggin' EC3 doing? Is the answer nothing? Yes, the answer is nothing. They're not doing anything. I mean, what could be hurt by them losing to Eric Rowan at this point? They're already as far down. There's no rehabilitating them. That's it. Who else do you got on the roster? Have them lose. But it's like there's nothing. You're not proving anything by squashing these very small men. Yeah, we're gonna see a lot of these stupid little little peeks backstage before the big wedding. At some point, Lana's like looking at flower arrangements, like she's picking out the flower arrangements for her wedding on the day of the wedding, which, let me tell you, as a guy who went through that ain't the way it happens. My wife picked out the floral arrangements for her wedding months in advance, because you gotta. Anyway, is one little backstage peek while she's rubbing down her legs, I guess with lotion of some kind, and she's talking aloud to nobody about how everybody's obsessed with her. So that's good. That's certainly a good sign of things to come. Charlotte Flair came out and gave a rambling promo that's like, I'm so tired of coming out here and saying that I'm the queen. I know you're all tired of me coming out here and saying I'm the queen, but I don't want to. Obviously, I'm coming out here to say that I'm the first woman to declare for the Royal Rumble. But it's obvious that I'm going to be in the Royal Rumble. I don't want to state the obvious. You don't want me to state the obvious. So I'm going to keep rambling in this way for much too long. And eventually, I'm going to do some kind of open challenge. And guess who it is? It's Natalya. And right then, I was like, okay, I'm done. Don't need to see Charlotte Flair versus Natalya ever again. I feel like I've seen them wrestle 1,000 times. Because I checked out of this match, I did not know this. I'm just reading this on a little recap of what's going on. R-Truth got chased around the ring by a bunch of 24/7 jerks. Yay, that thing's still going on, huh? Good. I'm glad we got right back to that. Charlotte kicked Eric Young in the face, apparently. That's fun. And then Natalya tapped out. Because they weren't gonna. Charlotte wasn't gonna lose this match. By the way, Charlotte is probably winning the Royal Rumble. Just because it's Charlotte. She hasn't won one yet, and she's the greatest to ever do it. The greatest of all time. She's a 10-time women's champion. How dare she not win the Royal Rumble yet? Becky Lynch told Chaz, Chuckles, Caruso, she's going to face Asuka for her Raw Women's Championship at Royal Rumble. I like that she's like saying, my contract's almost up, and I would only negotiate a new contract if they would let me face Asuka. I don't know that I buy the whole thing, like that they won't let me face Asuka because they know I might lose, and then I won't be the champion, so they can't build their whole company around me anymore, and they'll lose money. I mean, Roman Reigns hasn't been a champion in a long time, and they're still pushing the hell out of that guy, making that guy be front and center. pretty sure they'd figure out a way to do stuff with Becky Lynch if she wasn't wearing the title belt, because she'd immediately be in a chase for the title belt again. But I do appreciate that she figured that she had them over a barrel in the negotiations. And got one. She got her title match that she wanted at the Royal Rumble. Yeah. I mean, I would say that it would be interesting if Asuka was able to win, but they're not going to do the same thing they did last time. And I don't know. As far as like, Becky Lynch loses and then joins the Royal Rumble match, I don't think that's a possibility. So this is relevant to later. I'll just say that. Liv Morgan has another little vid. It's her in her bathrobe again. Somebody get that poor lady a change of clothes. She's been hanging out in the bathroom without. She can't come out because she's nude. The poor lady. I was so impulsive when I was young. Somebody hurt me, and so I'm going to hurt them back. And I guess I thought at the time, oh, Charlotte. Like, she challenged Charlotte to a match back in July or something, and Charlotte kicked her ass. And then she said, "I'm Charlotte's right about me. I'm fake. When I come back, I'm gonna be real." So I thought the person that had hurt her was Charlotte, and there was the first feud coming out of the Royal Rumble was going to be Liv showing up at the Royal Rumble, eliminating Charlotte, and then that was the person that hurt her, and so blah blah blah. But a lot of what I was just getting from the whole little bathroom video was that basically Liv Morgan went from being Harley Quinn to a mean girl. Like, that's basically what she to becoming. What's her name? Regina George. My wife has made me watch that movie too many times, and now I know the name of the character by heart. Regina George. Yeah. I don't know. Well, I do know. We know what's happening by the end of the night because they decided to do something they're not supposed to have done, but they did it anyway. We'll talk about it. It's crazy. Okay. So the OC comes down to the ring. They say that they're the best. The OC is the only club that matters. That's what they say. And they because they beat the Viking Raiders those 2 times, even though they lost to them 5 times before that. You guys are 2-5. You're 3 games under 500. Stop it. So they're the best team in the world because they got the giant trophy. And then they said they were going to, because they did beat the Viking Raiders last week, and then, or 2 weeks ago, and then they pinned they won the 6-man last week when AJ pinned Orton. And they're about to challenge the Viking Raiders for the tag team titles, but then Street Profits came out, and I don't know. I feel like they were like, hey, we really like the stuff you guys did in NXT. It was a lot of fun. It's just not big enough, though. So can you make it bigger? Can you make it louder and more obnoxious? Like, we really want people to love you, so make them cringe every time you're on screen. I don't like what they're doing with the Street Profits. It's not good. It's bad. Again, not to beat a dead horse, but if you don't know, go back and watch some of the stuff they did on their own when they took a camera out on the streets of Orlando in NXT, and they would film stuff on the streets, just improvising, riffing on each other. It was really fun and very entertaining. And this is not. Their promos are not. It's like they went and they're trying like rehearsing it, and then Vince goes by, no, bigger, make it bigger, like make it crazy, make it really like That's why they love you. It's so you. It's good shit, pal. It's bad. So anyway, but they did have a good point in that they beat the OC. So if the OC beat the Viking Raiders, by the way, Street Profits, nobody forgot that you lost a tag team title match to the Viking Raiders in like 2.5 minutes a couple of weeks ago. But they say by the transitive property, if OC beat the Viking Raiders and Street Profits beat the OC in their debut match on Raw back in September, so that's a long friggin' time ago. Then maybe they're the best tag team in the world. By the transitive property. Transitive property. So Gallows challenged him, and they said okay, and there was a match. Street Profits defeated him again. So now I'm like, I don't know who is the best tag team in the world. I don't know, because Street Profits beat the OC, but the OC beat the Viking Raiders. I guess the only way we'll be able to know is if we have the OC versus the Street Profits versus the Viking Raiders in some kind of, I don't know, triple threat match. Yes, and that match is going to happen next week, and it's going to be for the titles on Raw, and I don't think that the titles are going to change hands, but I've been wrong before. I really do love Montez Ford in the ring. I think he's a lot of fun. Again, he loves to have fun because he's black. All black guys love to have fun unless they're big and bruising like Bobby Lashley. But oh boy, those high flying black guys, they sure do love to have fun. That's what Michael Cole always tells me. Anyway, AJ was ejected from ringside. He was interfering. Montez hit the Carl Anderson with the frog splash. Good. They were Street Profits are backstage, and they tried they poor Angelo Dawkins. Like, you listen, his entire character for years on NXT was wears a headband and sometimes 2 headbands. That was his entire character. And then he met Montez Ford, and then they formed the Street Profits, and that's fine. But there's a reason why on his own, his entire character revolved around the number of headbands he would wear. I like the guy. I like his spear. I think his old D-Lo spine buster, the Sky High, I think that's great. I think he's really fun to watch. He's not the best on the mic. That's Montez's thing. So they ask Angelo Dawkins to say, like, Montez says, maybe if we beat these guys and they beat those guys, maybe we're the best tag team, not in the world, but maybe the best tag team in the universe. And then Angelo Dawkins like, no, we're the best tag team in the multiverse. And Montez is like, what's the multiverse? And Angelo Dawkins forgot all of his lines. Just forgot them. Because it's difficult to explain the multiverse if you don't know what the multiverse is. He's like, well, there's a whole bunch of dimensions, and there's like many parallel versions of Earth in which everybody exists in multiple timelines, and that's all based around the theoretical. And then he just stopped talking. The theoretical nothing. The theoretical nothing. He just forgot his lines and stopped talking. That's know your teammates, people. That's not a position you put that guy in. That was so awkward. Montez tried to save it, did not work all that great. And then they changed the subject to the big wedding tonight. Oh boy, they're so excited for the wedding. Not the wedding. Oh, but Dawkins wants to find some bridesmaids because bridesmaids are always desperate, don't you know? For love. Handicap match. Drew McIntyre beat Hawkins and Ryder, squashed them handily as he should, but they kept calling them the former tag team champions, which, don't get me wrong, that is technically true, but they're jobbers first and foremost, and that's what they jobbed to Drew McIntyre. But Drew McIntyre, his promo before he beat them up was like, he really got the crowd to cheer for him. He was like, who here? Oh, it's Drew McIntyre. Who here thinks these two have got a chance to beat me, Drew McIntyre? And nobody raised their hand. It's like, well, who here thinks they should be afraid of me, Drew McIntyre, the sexy Scot? And everybody raised their hand because they agreed that they should be afraid. The two men should be afraid of the one man. He got them separated, was able to hit big moves on each one of them one at a time. Then he made Zack Ryder pin Kurt Hawkins and then put his hands on Zack's back. So I guess that counts as a pin. I mean, he pinned Kurt through Zack, whatever. Drew McIntyre is amazing. You could easily make him into a really great tweener as well, because the crowd really liked cheering for him tonight. I think that might be where they're going with it. He's a sleeper pick for me to be. He's definitely going to be in. I mean, unless they screw something up, he's definitely going to be in the top, in the final 5, maybe 4, maybe even 3 of the Royal Rumble. He's going to make you believe that he can win it. I don't think they're ready to pull a trigger on him, stupidly. But he's really, really great. And if you put him in the ring with Brock Lesnar, I would believe he could beat Brock Lesnar like 7 out of 10 times. Because Brock Lesnar, he can spam the German suplex, but like it's Drew McIntyre. What's that going to do to him? Look at that dude's back. So, yeah, no, I listen. If Drew McIntyre just hits Brock with a couple of claymores, that's it. I think they have a great opportunity to make him into this really fun tweener that we like to root for, especially versus Brock. And the fun part is, after he beats Brock and becomes the champion, he can revert back to being heel, and then you can have all the guys like Ricochet and people chase the title from underneath. Because he was only the guy we liked because he was going to face Brock Lesnar, and we rooted for anybody, for the love of God, anybody but Brock Lesnar. Brock's going to be on Raw next week because it's January, so they're paying him for the episodes leading up to the Royal Rumble. They had the nerve to say, Brock's going to be here next week. Wonder what he's going to say. And we all know the answer is fucking nothing. Because he never says anything. But his advocate's going to be sitting right next to him saying a lot of shit. And probably the same shit he says all the time. So, yay! Oh, poor Randy. I don't know if you heard this, but Randy really hurt his knee at a house show. Like he hurt his knee. He landed funny. And the doctors all came out and checked on him, and he had to be wheeled out on a wheelchair with a big old cartoonish ice pack on his knee. Randy Orton really hurt his knee, guys. Randy Orton really hurt his knee. Randy Orton really hurt his knee. So anyway, Randy, with a really totally real knee injury, he got into the ring on his crutches. He's got crutches. He needs somebody to help him into the ring, guys. Guys, I don't think Randy's going to make it. I think Randy might be dying. So Randy Randy got in the ring and he was like, you know what they say about this business? They say it ain't ballet. And what that means is that injuries happen. Every guy and every girl in the back, they know it's possible. They know that something could go wrong and they might have to give up. I've seen men have to give up titles because of injuries. I don't respect a lot of men in this business, but I respect the hell out of Edge. He had to give up his career because of an injury. I don't know if that's going to be me, but I hurt my knee. I hurt it bad. I felt something pop, something give way. I didn't know how bad it was until the doctors came back and looked at the MRI, and whew, man, I really messed up my knee bad, which is a clinical diagnosis. Because when the MRI comes back and the doctor comes in, having looked at the MRI, he says, "Mr. Orton, you done messed up your knee real bad." Anyway, then Randy's like, "I'm be out for a long time. I'll be out for a long time. I might never be back, but I'm going to try my damnedest to make sure that somebody gets RKO'd at WrestleMania." Oh boy, what a fate! Fate, you're such a cruel mistress. You've hurt me. You've hurt me so bad, Fate. Oh, to think, if only I had landed differently and I had not blown my knee all out to hell. Maybe then someone would be getting RKO'd out of nowhere, but not now. Not now that the fates have dealt me such a cruel hand. How will I ever go on now that my knee is all done messed up? So, AJ Styles, presumably the only person in the entire building who is falling for this shit, because this is the workiest work that ever done work to work. Oh man, was this a work? Oh Jesus, I was like, is this real? And then when he was like, when the MRIs came back and they said I really messed up my knee, I'm like, that is not a thing. If you had told me that you tore your PCL, I'd be like, that sucks, man. That's a long time coming. Because everything else was okay. Like his acting job wasn't terrible, but the fact that he was laying it on really thick. I will say that. Really thick. THICC thick. Anyway, AJ comes out and he's totally falling for it, and he's like, "You're telling me that the next time I get to face you in the ring is WrestleMania? That's too bad." And then he like, I'll put my hands behind my back, Randy. Now see if you can RKO me with my hands behind my back. Oh, you really must be hurt. You haven't RKO'd me yet. Well, I'm gonna kick your crotch out of the way, and then like, I'll just have to wait. I can be a patient man. And then Randy's like, well, that's the difference between you and me, AJ. You're patient, and I'm not. And hits him with an RKO, and he stomps with his bad foot on his bad knee, just to, for emphasis. And I guess this was supposed to solidify us rooting for Randy Orton, which always seems like a weird prospect because he's just a douche. He's a dick douche. He's a douche for your dick. That's what that guy is. I mean, it's fine. He hits the RKO out of nowhere, but he's always been he's never really worked as a total baby face. Like, he had a whole subsection of his career where he was like he was deliberately attempting to give people brain damage by punting them in the head. He never served time for his crimes. Like, I'm always going to find it hard to root for that guy. So anyway, I guess they're believing that I'm the only one who feels that way, and that we will now root for him because he made he faked an injury at a house show for 24 hours so that he could come and he hits the RKO on AJ Styles at the last second, at the very end of the thing. So I guess we're gonna get more AJ versus Randy. So yeah, Rey Mysterio says I lost to Andrade and I'm gonna get my rematch. And so yes, they are. Next week on Raw, we're gonna get Andrade versus Rey Mysterio rematch. Good. Andrade is beating up some jobber, and he's gonna do the hammerlock DDT to him on the exposed concrete. And then Ricochet's music hits, and Ricochet comes down to the ring. And Andrade is still there, like, what are you doing out here? He gets in the ring away from the guy, and then Ricochet checks on the jobber. And at this point, I want everyone to know that this jobber, who I'm pretty sure that they never like gave his name or whatever, that jobber officially has more friends than Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns was nearly murdered at the end of TLC. Well, not the end of TLC. At some point in TLC by Corbin and all of his goons. Nobody came out to lift a finger. Nobody came out to say, "Hey, maybe you shouldn't do that." But this jobber was about to be DDT'd onto the concrete, and Ricochet said, "No, not on my watch." He said, "You want to fight somebody, fight me." And Andrade's like, "Okay." Good match. I don't know. I mean, if it were up to me, Andrade would win against Ray next week, and then be about to do the same thing to Ray, and then Ricochet comes out and saves him because Ray is actually Ricochet's hero, and that makes sense, and that's good. And then you have Ricochet chase the U.S. title, probably give him a match at Royal Rumble. I forgot the name of that pay-per-view. Royal Rumble. And maybe you have Humberto Carrillo come back in that match. And we think he's going to help Ricochet, but instead, whoops, he turned on him. You know why? Because he's got brain damage. I don't know. I just like the idea of Carrillo and Andrade forming a little duo under the tutelage of Zelina Vega. And you could say that like maybe he's got a little brain injury, and that has allowed him to tap into his craziness. Listen, brain injury leading to heel turn, while fanciful and yes, largely stupid, is nothing compared to what they ended this show with. I'll tell you that. So here we are, 48 minutes into the show, and let's get to this goddamn friggin' thing. It's Lana. It's Lashley and Lana and their wedding. Lashley is wearing a tuxedo jacket with the sleeves cut off. He's not wearing a shirt or a bow tie. Presumably, if he was wearing the bow tie without the shirt, he would have looked like a Chippendales dancer, and it would have been distracting. They got some dude he sounds like he's from Hartford. He's like, "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to join these two youths in holy matrimony." Yeah, he's a he's a preacher to the mob, is what he sounded like. Yeah. So this whole thing was interminable. Like, eventually it becomes so silly, but it started out as just the most boring thing ever. Lana just keeps talking about herself and how great she is. She becomes, she yells at the preacher. The preacher mentions, in his little homily or whatever, he's like, you guys are going to build a life together. Maybe you'll hear the pitter patter of little feet. And she's like, "No, I'm never going to give birth to a monster." It's basically what she said. And then basically in that tone of voice, "I'm not going to have a monster come out of me and turn me into a fat person." Again. That's her biggest concern is being fat. Okay. At some point, the crowd started chanting Rusev Day, and she's yelled at them to not chant Rusev Day. She started chanting Lana Day back at them. Basically, Bobby hasn't said a goddamn word this whole time. It's just Lana being obnoxious and terrible and horrible. And they wrote their own vows. So Lana is writing a vow, to reading her vows that she said. It's like, it's great that you're marrying me because nobody else is like me. Everybody else is bad. And any woman has in her pinky what I have in my whole charisma. And what you meant, though, was that I have more charisma in my little pinky than any woman has in their whole body. That's what you meant to say. But what you said was, they have more in their pinky than I have in my whole charisma. Which doesn't make any fucking sense. I honestly might be able to forgive all of these terrible slip-ups if she was still using the Russian accent. Because then I'd be like, okay, it's her second language. She's still Russian. Like you were saying, I have more in my pinky than they have. They have more in their pinky than I have in my whole charisma. Okay, fine. But no, you're not doing that. You dropped the Russian accent. And so it's bad. Don't do that. It's bad. It should just get worse. At some point, she says, I just can't, I want to jump on you and make love to you right now to Bobby Lashley. So she jumps on Bobby Lashley and gives him a big kiss. And Lana, he pushes her off, and the preacher's like, I admire your restraint. But of course he says, I admire your restraint over here. Because that's who that preacher is. So they finally get around to after. Oh, by the way, Lashley does the vows, his vows, but those vows were written by Lana, and it's about how this is the greatest day of my life, of my career, of my whole manhood. Is the day that I get to marry you because of how great you are. And then the preacher goes, if there is anybody in the audience who thinks that these two should not be joined, speak now or forever hold your peace. I'm exaggerating, but that's basically his accent. And then some guy says, hey, I stopped the wedding. I did it. And we turn to, I don't know, some dude in a suit. And he's like, I'm Lana's first husband. She married me on the day she turned 18. Then she left me for that jerk Rusev, and she left him for you, Bobby Lashley, and she's going to leave you for somebody else. That's what she does. And Bobby Lashley just picks him up and slams him down, and that's the end of that guy. So I was like, oh, so that's not the thing? Okay, great. We're going to keep going? Okay. If anybody wants to speak now or forever hold your peace. And then a lady shows up, and the lady says, I'm Lashley's first wife. He married me when he's still in the military. And then, and then Lana smacks her in the face and knocks her onto the ground. And then, okay, I guess we're going to continue with this thing. I forgot to say, after when Bobby Lashley slams the dude, he knocks over the pillar because the whole thing's decorated in all the stuff for the wedding. There's like a pillar in each corner, and each pillar's got a flower arrangement on it. So one corner, the pillar fell over, and so did the flower arrangement. So then Lana had to go over and set the pillar up and then put the thing on top. By the way, this thing had an overrun of like 11 minutes. It was crazy. They stopped the overrun, I thought, but not for this. Not for this segment. This segment deserves the full 28 goddamn minutes it got, or whatever the hell it was. It was a long time. It felt like an hour. And then the preacher again goes, is there anybody here or forever hold your peace? And another woman comes out, and the woman is there, and she's up on the thing, and they don't really push in and show her very far from very far away, and so it's from close up, it's from far away. She's small and she's blonde, and she's wearing like a pantsuit thing, but half of her suit jacket is just like sheared off diagonally, so one side of her is like clothed and the other side is not clothed, so it's a bare arm and like half a bra, and then a suit jacket over the other 2/3 of her torso. It was very odd, but anyway, it's Liv Morgan, and that crowd had no friggin' idea that was Liv Morgan. They just thought it was another lady, because guess what? You kind of ruined that whole bit. If you're going to do that, if you're going to have somebody come out, the first time it's nobody they've ever heard of. The second time it's nobody they've ever heard of or seen before. It's like they have no idea who these people are. So why wouldn't the third person also be that? That doesn't make any sense. Bad. So nobody knows it's Liv Morgan. But it's Liv Morgan. And she comes down and she says, Stop. The love of my life is up there. I wouldn't have gotten through this year if it hadn't been for you and all of your love and how you would. And I know you love me too. And Bobby Lashley, through her entire thing, is going, oh no. Like, he's looking very furtive. His eyes are very shifty. He's like, oh gosh, I don't know what's going to happen now. And then when she's done talking, he goes, I have never been with this woman in my life. And she goes, Liv goes, I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about Lana. Lana, I know you love me. I love you so much. How can you do this to me, Lana? And Lana had tears in her eyes, and Liv had tears in her eyes. And then Lana attacked Liv, and they had a cat fight. They had a lesbian cat fight in the middle of a wedding on Raw in the year of our Lord, 2019. As they said, 25 hours before the year of our Lord, 2020. They had a lesbian cat fight. Break up a wedding. So, you have an out and proud lesbian on your roster. Not on Raw, but on SmackDown. She wanted to do an LGBT storyline, the first one ever. And for different reasons, that never happened. So here they are, doing the first lesbian love interest storytelling with two straight women, and milking it for laughs and making it shocking. It's shocking. How shocking! Which only serves to otherize being gay. At this point, like, I mean, you know somebody who is gay, or you're related to somebody who's gay. Gay people are all around us, and it's totally cool because love is love, man. And I'm not saying that sarcastically. That's the truth. So to be like, oh my God, it's a lesbian cat fight. What's happening now? Also, like, all of Liv's promos, her little videos have all been about how she's very manipulative, and I'm changed now, and I'm going to take back what's mine, and all. Say, so are we doing the whole manipulative evil lesbian? Like, she's gay because it gets her somewhere, and That's not super great. Like, there are a lot of people I know, because a lot of them follow me, who are gay WWE fans. And um, a lot of them struggled with how to come out to their family, to the world, um, and to see Liv Morgan repackaged from, again, the girl with the Jolly Rancher blue tongue and the pink hair and the skater chic thing. Not that, but like that was before, prior to that. That was kind of that skater hip hoppy thing she was doing in NXT, and then it was just full on Harley Quinn cosplay and main roster, and that's all. Nope, that's gone. Now she's into business suits and bathrobes and candlelit tubs and manipulating people, and now she's gay, and it's a weird deal for them for gay people to be like, oh, so that's what my existence is to you, WWE. In the year 2020, we finally get a gay storyline, and it's this. It's this. It's just fucking disappointing that this company, the biggest company in the world that does the thing that I love, wrestling. I love wrestling. I want it to be great. I want the biggest company in the world to not be a fucking tire fire when it comes to social issues. Because, like it or not, it's not just a fictionalized world. They live in the world we live in. It's not like, a different time or a different place or a fictionalized version of America or whatever. It's here and now. And the fact that you didn't continue to present people who are representatives of your audience, portions of your audience, as being othered and pushed aside and laughed at and meant to make us feel weird. You should feel weird about seeing Liv Morgan come out and say, Lana, you're with me. You should be with me because we love each other. And then Lana flip out and attack her, and they have again a frigging lesbian cat fight to break up the wedding. And then they get rid of Liv, and they're about to go on with it and do the thing, do the exchange of the rings and all that stuff. And then did I mention there's a giant cake in the ring? There's a giant cake in the ring. And Rusev's in the cake, and Rusev climbs out of the cake, and he beats up Bobby Lashley. And then Liv gets back in the ring, and she shoves Lana's face in the cake. And we go off the air with Liv Morgan's first match back after being off TV for 5 months is going to be a mixed tag match between her and Rusev versus Lana and Lashley. About whether or not Liv and Lana are lovers. I guess. Just fuck this company, man. Like, this was never going to turn out well. With a fucking as soon as you booked this shit, it was always going to be bad. I didn't think it was going to be this bad. Nobody could have predicted it was going to be this bad. This segment was one of the worst they've ever done. One of the worst. I won't say it's the worst. Katie Vick still has that fucking crown. And then after that, I don't know, DX all in blackface. That was probably pretty bad. But guess what that shit was? Fucking 20 years ago. This is now. This is now. This is in the world we live in currently. And you decided this is okay. Listen, the whole segment without Liv Morgan revealing herself to be Lana's ex-lover and the whole thing descending into, again, and I cannot stress this enough, a lesbian catfight. In the year of our Lord, soon to be 2020, to break up a fucking wedding on Raw. Like that's what you want to do. That's what you want to do with this. Because I know how things fucking work over there, there's no way this was the plan from the beginning. They were like, okay, what do we do? Here's what we do. Now, I'm not even getting into the whole thing about how there's a whole subset of people on the internet who are super pissed that you decided to not make Liv into Sister Abigail so that you could make her into this. I mean, I'm not so sure I was sold on the idea of anybody being Sister Abigail or even Liv being Sister Abigail or whatever, but whatever that would have been was going to be better than this. Not to mention the fact that you go find Sonya Deville's Twitter feed, unless she's deleted those tweets. She's pissed and has every right to be. She says, this blows my mind that they would do this when they wouldn't do an actual one for her and Mandy Rose. Now, don't come at me with the whole thing. Well, Mandy's not gay either, so it's okay for Mandy to play a gay person. Well, if she's playing it with any kind of humanity, yeah. If she's playing it for laughs or for shock value, no. No, there was a time years and years and years and years ago where there was a gay kiss on an episode of Roseanne, and the fucking world lost their minds. Ellen DeGeneres came out as gay, and they took her TV show from her. That was around the same time that WWE was doing, hot lesbian action, shit like that. But now, thankfully, we've evolved as a society and as a planet, and that shit's just not okay anymore. Spoiler alert, it wasn't okay then, but now marginalized people actually have a voice in this country. Thanks to social media, largely. And the week after this debacle, leading up to next week, I cannot imagine will be pleasant for WWE's social media team, for their PR to handle this shit. Make no mistake, this is not them being inclusive. This is them making homosexuality into a shock value joke. It's not great. I mean, I come from the world of theater, and there's a pretty high per capita of gay people there, and a lot of good friends of mine are gay. They don't watch wrestling because they're smart, but yeah, I can only imagine what a lot of them would think of this, and it'd be hurtful to some of them. I know. So yeah, this is not me posturing and virtue signaling. This is how I feel about this because, I know people. I care about people who fit into these groups that are marginalized by WWE's programming, and I don't much care for it. I thought I was going to be more angry at this, and I am. I am angry at this whole thing, but I really am. It's I know it's a goddamn cliche at this point, but I'm not as mad as I am disappointed. Disappointed that they would do this and think it was going to work, think it was going to be good, or they're like, oh no, this will really get heat. This will get some serious heat. Like the heat in Hot Lesbian Action. Like you can't you can't resolve this feud. The blow off match can't be like it can't be like a Jello wrestling match. You can't do a bra and panties match to resolve this feud. Guys, you're gonna have to deal with this now. You opened up a whole can of worms. Now Liv Morgan's a lesbian now, or at least has had lesbian relationships in the past. Is you going to retcon that whole thing because, like, oops, whoops, nope, people are mad about that, so now we're going to say it didn't happen. Yeah, this is not great. I don't know where we're going with this, but I'm willing to bet it's going to get worse before it gets better. Yeah, so that was Raw. That was the last Raw of the decade. And now we're heading into the 2020s. And I don't know what the landscape of wrestling is going to be in 10 years. I really don't. I mean, let's hope. Let's hope. I mean, it sounds like a really cruel thing to say, but I really hope Vince is dead by 2029. I really do. I hope he goes peacefully in his sleep. Or maybe, surrounded by loved ones. But I hope he's fucking dead by 2029. Because Jesus. I can only imagine what another decade of steroid dementia would do to him and his storylines. Can you imagine? Anyway, this has been Raw. It's been Sour Graps. I have been Alex Pulowski. This is my merch. You can buy it at shop.fightful.com. It's fun. You can buy that for friends of yours, and they can say, "What's that?" And you can say, "It's a wrestling podcast." And they can say, "You watch wrestling?" And you can say, "Yeah, I do. I don't know why, but I do." Remember, it's here at Sour Graps. Everything sucks.